Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you love the show, please leave a review or a rating on Apple or Spotify. The reviews really help the show reach more people. Today, I wanted to do an episode on dealing with grief during the holidays. The holidays can be a really, really hard time of year for many people for many different reasons. And it's especially hard for those who are going through infertility or who are going through pregnancy loss or infant loss. The holidays are typically a time of year where we are around family. It's always centered around family and being thankful and happiness. And, sometimes we just aren't feeling those things. And sometimes, especially if we have an unsupportive family, it can be really hard to be around our family. So, first, I wanted to say that if you want to skip the holidays, it's okay to skip the holidays. If you don't want to be around family, if your family's not supportive, if you find it just hard in general to be around family, if you don't feel like being happy, if you don't feel like celebrating, it's okay to skip it. It's okay to not celebrate. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean, that you aren't thankful for the things you have, but it just means that you need some space and some time to grieve, and that's okay. And then on the other hand, if you're someone who would rather be with family, you find it more comforting to be with family, then that's okay too. Just because you're celebrating, being happy, being thankful, enjoying time with your family, doesn't mean that you don't love your baby, and it doesn't mean that you don't miss your baby. So, there is no right or wrong way to do the holidays. If you feel like skipping, go ahead and skip them. And if you feel like, going all out and participating in all the holiday stuff, that's fine too. You have to do what works for you and your family and your friends. If they are true friends and, true family members who love you, then they will support you no matter what your decision is. And then I also wanted to point out some things that you can do to help honor your baby during the holidays. So, one thing that I like to do that helps me feel better, and it also helps another family, is I like to adopt an angel from the angel tree that is the age that Jasmine would be. So, last year there was one that was done through my son's school, but I think you can also find these local trees. You can find them on the Salvation Army website. There's different places you can find them. So I adopted one through my son's school, and it was a 4-year-old girl because Jasmine would have been 4 last year. And I was able to buy this little girl some new shoes and a new jacket. And it was just really nice to, buy the things that I didn't get to buy Jasmine, but I knew that they were things that somebody else needed and that it would help make another little girl's Christmas happy. So that's one thing that you can do. And another thing is I have a stocking for her. It has her name on it. I got it the first Christmas after she was born. And every year I ask for people to send cards directly to Jasmine with her name on them. And then I put all of them in her stocking, and they are opened on Christmas Day. It's really nice to see things come with her name on them because as lost parents, you know that we don't get to see their name very often. So anytime we see their name written or hear their name spoken, it means so much more than I could ever even describe. And I'm not going to lie, opening all the cards, it's always a really emotional process for me. Lots of tears, and it's like one of those happy and sad things because it's just really sad that I'm missing her, but it makes me happy to include her in Christmas and see that other people were thinking of her and seeing her name, and it just means a lot. I also have several ornaments for her, some that I have bought myself, and some that friends or family have sent her ornaments with her name on them. And those are always really special. I like to hang them all in one section of the tree, all my jasmine ornaments. And this is something that I want to do, but I have not yet done. But I've seen other people who have like the little Christmas trees that are specifically for their angel baby. So it could be, a regular little tree, or I've seen they have like pink ones, they have colored ones, and you can put ornaments on it, and it can just be, their special tree just for them. And that's something that I do want to incorporate because I think that is really special. Another thing that I have done, and I've actually hosted one last year and I hosted one this year, is an ornament exchange and a card exchange for lost families. So, this is where you can just exchange either an ornament or a card or both, and you can pick the number of families you want to exchange with. If it's just one family, if it's two families, if you want to send like 20 cards, it's kind of just all up to you. But it's a way to connect with other lost families, to also get something for your baby, but to also send something to help another family who is going through grief after loss. And it's just a nice way to remember all of our babies and, get through a really tough time of year. And I plan to do this again next year. And I've seen some other card exchanges and ornament exchanges going on around me. So that's something you can just look out for every year if you're interested in it. So these are just some of the main things that I have seen. And, there's no right or wrong thing to do, no right or wrong way to honor your baby. There are so many different things you can do. These are just some of the ones that I personally have done and other things that I have seen done by other lost families. So now that we have talked about some of the things that you can do to honor your baby, let's talk about why it is that the holidays can be so hard after loss. Like I mentioned earlier, we are obviously missing our babies. There are, there's an empty seat at the table, there's an empty stocking. It's just their presence is missing, and we know that they should be there and they're not. And if you're someone who has other living children, then you're missing the interaction between them. You know what it's like for your kids to wake up on Christmas morning to open all of their presents, and you know exactly what you are missing out on with the baby that should be here. And if you're someone who doesn't have living children, then that's an experience that you haven't got to experience yet. So you're missing out on everything that you wish you could be having right now, everything that you hope to experience one day but haven't had a chance to. So, it's hard just knowing that they should be here and that they're not. I also think it's hard because society doesn't have a place for sadness during the holidays. We're expected to be happy all the time, buy presents for everyone, spend time with family, all those things we talked about. But there isn't a place for grief. Grief is, after loss, grief is just entwined in everything that we do. All of the normal events of the year, grief is there every single day for the rest of our lives after a loss. And we have to learn how to integrate that into our normal lives. And people who have not been through loss, they don't understand that. They've never had to do that. They've never had to go through that. So, people will make the comments like, well, you should just be happy, be grateful for what you have, be grateful for the children you do have. Or, the other ones, you can try again, you'll have a baby at this time next year. Or do you want to, play with one of my kids? And, all these comments that we hear, which obviously are not helpful. And it's great that they've never had to go through it, but it would also be nice if they would be more understanding of what it is that we have gone through, because these aren't helpful and they're not going to bring our baby back, which is obviously, the number one thing that we would want. So that's why I say, if it's too hard to be around family, if they're going to continue to make the comments like this, if they're not going to support you, if they're not going to let you be sad, to grieve your baby, to include your baby, then, just don't be around them this year. You need to also take care of yourself. And that is something that so many of us fail to do. We take care of other people, but we don't spend the time taking care of ourselves. And after loss is really, really stressful for us as we're grieving, as we're recovering physically, recovering emotionally. And this is the time that you really, really need to prioritize yourself. So during the holidays, don't let anybody else set expectations for you. You have to be the one to set the expectation of what you can handle that year, of what you think you're capable of doing. So if that's celebrating, celebrate. If it's not, then don't. And don't let anybody make you feel bad about that. You're the only one who knows what you're going through. You're the only one who knows what you can handle physically and what you can handle emotionally. So that's one of my biggest takeaways here, is that you have to be the one to set the expectation for yourself, and to also, set that expectation with other family members. So tell them, I'm just not in a good place to handle this right now. So tell them, I am just not in a good place to handle this right now. I can't attend a big family gathering, or I'm just going to spend this holiday alone. Maybe we can do something after the new year. Maybe we can do something quiet. Just whatever it is that you feel you need, just communicate that as clearly as you can. I know some family doesn't like to accept no for an answer, but if it's really what you need, just be persistent. And while we're also on the subject of communication, I think it's really important to make sure that you also communicate with your partner during this time. Grief can be different for both partners, and what you need may not be what your partner needs. And it's important that you are both getting your needs met. We expect our partner to be the one that is there for us, to be our biggest support. And yes, they usually are. But sometimes you may need to reach out to somebody else to give you the thing that you are needing to get through your grief. So if you're needing, to go hit things like hit a ball, or, do something like that. I've heard of rage rooms that you can go to, where you just go break things. You might have somebody else in mind to help you do that kind of thing. Or, if it's somebody that you need to sit and cry with you, that may not be your partner either. So you can find, a close friend, your mom, or, just somebody else who can be that person for you. And using other people doesn't mean that we don't love our partners. It doesn't mean that we're, not strong in our relationship. It just means that at that moment, you may need somebody else to help you through the grief. And that's okay. Just make sure that you keep the line of communication open, and that you are both able to get your needs met and able to both handle your grief in the way that you feel is best. And then also, my last point that I wanted to touch on is, again, talking about self-care. I mean, we hear it all the time. Self-care is so important, and it really, really is, because so many of us don't do it. But self-care isn't just like having the time to go take a shower by yourself, or, something like that. It's really taking care of your physical health, but also your mental health as well. And so, different ways that you can do that during the holidays are just, simple things like journaling, taking a walk, doing some yoga or meditation, exercising, spending time with friends and family if that's something that you want to do. It's making sure that all of your needs are met, your social needs as well. Some of us like to be alone when we're sad and when we're grieving. And while it is good to have alone time, we don't want to spend all of our time alone for, a long period of time. You need that social interaction with somebody. So making sure that your physical needs are met, your emotional needs are met, and your social needs are met. And that can be, done in a variety of ways, in whatever way feels right for you. So just make sure that you're doing that you're taking care of yourself, that you're being kind to yourself, that you're practicing good self-care. And I just want to end this by saying there's just no right or wrong way, to go through grief. It's something that is challenging. It's not linear. It's all over the place and it's messy and it's with us forever. And it's not something that anybody else can tell us how to get through it. It's something we all have to determine for ourselves. And I know it would be so much easier if we could just say, do X, Y, and Z and the grief will be gone. But we know that's not how it works. So it may take time. It may take lots of talking, lots of trying things, lots of figuring things out until you understand how you grieve, how your partner grieves, how your family grieves, and to find a way to incorporate the grief into your life, because it's not going to go away. We just have to learn how to live with it. I do think that for some people, it not necessarily lessens over time, but I think that we learn how to make it a little bit more manageable. For some people, that's a little bit harder to do. It just kind of depends on the person. So I really hope that you found this information helpful, that it's helped you understand just a little bit how to manage that grief during the holiday season, and also that you hopefully got some ideas on things that you can do to help honor your baby and remember your baby during the holidays. Because I think that's the most important thing of all, is seeing our babies still as part of the family, seeing their name, remembering their presence, knowing that they will never be forgotten. And if you are interested in signing up for the ornament and card exchange next year, just make sure that you're following on Instagram and Facebook on Journey for Jasmine. And I hope that you have a very gentle holiday season and that you find something that works for you to get you through this rough time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Please leave a review or a rating if you like the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.